just you name it. Plus, I always keep a backpack full of like um, uh, medical safety equipment, you know, in case somebody got hurt while we're out in the woods or something like that. So just always trying to be prepared no matter where I'm at is generally what I keep in the back of my car.
I remember when we were at the CWPPO up in Ohio and I tripped over the guardrail and I landed on top of my AT Pro and I broke the cuff link. Gadget Geek came to the rescue. We got it all taped up so I could metal detect the last day, even though the detector was broken.
I completely forgot about that. And that was, I think we used black electrical tape to do that with. And I can't tell you how many times somebody's forgotten something or they lost something or a bolt fell off of their whatever. And I seem to have it, you know, I always in my car that can probably help somebody.
I just want to give a quick shout out to James Savage, and Emily Copeland is on watching as well. So good morning, everybody.
Hey, little Miss Dirt Digger. Good morning.
She's just such a great little digger, isn't she?
Oh, she is. She's amazing. Yeah. So shout out to her and to everybody who's on.
Well, Marc, I know you also run a Facebook page called Adventures in History. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I have a group and a page. Really what I try to do is encourage everybody to join the group so they can also share. I started that in November of 2016, and we have about 1,200 group members now. And the idea of the page is not necessarily around metal detecting. It's more around having people share stories of history, of some of their adventures, which can include metal detecting, and treasure hunting and things that people do to go on their adventures. So some really neat stories are shared on there. So anybody who might be watching here, we'd love to have them go to Adventures in History group and join, and then they can read all the various stories and then they can share their own stories as well.
I know on the front of my metal detector, I've got a really cool sticker right on two of my detectors, right on the front.
Yeah, so do I. I think it's the same sticker.
I think it might be. So I know that you're kind of like me. We both are going to different hunts across the country, and there's that 50-state metal detecting challenge. How many states have you knocked out, Marc?
You know, I haven't counted recently, but I think I'm getting close to about 20.
Okay.
And what's kind of neat about the work that I do, I actually work from home, like a lot of people, and a lot more now than what we're dealing with this whole coronavirus. But because of the work that I do, I travel a lot around the United States. So sometimes I'll take my detector with me, and then I'll stay over the weekend and maybe go to an event, or I'll hunt on my own, or I'll hunt with somebody who has a permission and hunt in that particular state. So I've been all the way out to Arizona, Utah, Idaho, all around the western area. So Texas. So have had a lot of opportunity to get on both sides of the country to metal detect.
Didn't you get to detect that old abandoned gold miners town?
I did, and unfortunately, they sold the property, so I won't be able to go back there. But I just recently got a permission at a gold mine in Montana, which we're going to try to go to this year. But it was in Boise, Idaho, outside of Boise, Idaho. It was an old gold mining ghost town. At one time, there was about 5,000 people living there, all gold mining on this river that went through the area. We built up a whole town around it. And in 1935, the entire town just completely burned to the ground. And so we got permission to go on that property, and I've gone there a couple of times and just had a really nice time. The history of the area is amazing, a lot of fun. I learned a lot, and I didn't know at that time that they had a lot of Chinese workers working in the mining area. You know, we knew they were in the railroad and they did a lot of different jobs, but in this particular area, a lot of Chinese coins were found, Chinese artifacts, things like that. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. In fact, I don't know if you were going to ask me, but this is, I was going to show, since we're on live, I was going to show you, this is one of my favorite finds. This is a little bottle that I found at the old gold mine in Ghost Town. You can see that it has the little top is still on it. It almost looks like a little thimble.
It does.
And it was still intact. And what's really unusual, and by the way, this bottle, we dated it to 1900. It's Edward Pinard did the history on that. And Edward Pinard was a world famous perfumer back in the 1800s from France. But this bottle, we found a poster from 1900 that actually showed it being used as hair tonic. And so, anyway, what's unusual about finding that bottle is when the entire town burned down, all of the glass was broken. It was either melted or broken. So it would be extremely unusual to find a completely intact bottle. And the best that I can figure is that was probably where the barbershop was. And that bottle was thrown outside and was under the dirt. So when the fire went through, it protected it. And when I metal detected over that area, I found that bottle. So that was kind of cool.
I really like that bottle. You know how much I like bottles. Maybe one day it'll end up on my shelf. Don't leave it unattended, Marc.
Oh, you know what I ought to do is I'll put a little piece of paper under here that says, you know, if something happens to me, give this to Karen.
Well, thanks for looking out, Marc. I just want to say good morning to Ken King. He's watching as well. He said good morning to us.
Hey, Ken. Yeah, good morning.
I know we were talking a little bit about the 50 State Challenge and the hunts that we go on. We've been to quite a few different states together. We get a gang of us together and we go out. What are some of your most memorable stories from some of those hunts? I know I have one.
Well, so last year I went to the Garrett hunt, which would have happened this past weekend, but was obviously postponed. That was a lot of fun. Garrett does an amazing job of putting on their hunts. So we were really looking forward to going back to that this year. And I remember last year, Kellyco donated all of those camouflage jackets. And, you know, we had this wind and this cold coming through, and it's like everybody was trying to find a token to get one of those Kellyco jackets. And you could look everywhere. There were hundreds of people standing around all wearing their Kellyco jackets. I thought it was pretty cool. So you guys provided a really nice prize right at the right time. Rushed to the Rockies outside of Denver. We went to Central City. If you remember that, we all went together on that. Got a rental car, and you and I, you know, we were talking about how, you know, that's at like 9,500 foot elevation. You know, so us coming from, you know, sea level, you know, we're huffing and puffing, and then the terrain is at an angle, and we're hanging from trees and trying to get. Oh my gosh, that was a great trip. I really loved that. The history of the area is amazing. Then we went and visited a gold mine. Remember we went and did that tour of the gold mine?
I got to chip right off of the vein.
Yeah, I mean, you know, when you go, you know, for me, going to the hunts and finding stuff is great, but the adventure of going to some of these places that we've never been before is what I really like, and meeting new people. You know, so those are two of the ones that I really remember. And you mentioned CWPPO, Civil War Preservation Project of Ohio, where we went up. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, those are some of the more memorable ones.
I remember specifically you were talking about the elevation when we went to Colorado and hanging on trees, and I had bought a bottle of that oxygen, and I had Phil on the sidelines, and whenever I'd start, yes, that's what it was, the boost oxygen. And whenever I started getting all tired and couldn't breathe, I went over to Phil on the side and he handed me my oxygen, and I take some oxygen so I could keep protecting. And remember also what happened when we went to come home from that hunt with all the stuff we found at the airport?
Oh my goodness. Well, and this is what a lot of people don't realize is like you have all this stuff and you don't want to necessarily put all of your treasure in your checked-in bag because you don't know what's going to happen to it. So you might carry it with you, but that could be kind of difficult going through TSA with all of that metal in your, which we discovered, and they asked us to pull out. Yeah, that was pretty interesting going through TSA with all of that stuff in our backpacks.
One of the things that I like about going on these hunts is, you not only are we going and we're meeting all the people and we're seeing different terrains, we also like to explore, like you said, the gold mine, or we stopped when we were in Central City, we went by the local historical society and checked it out and learned some history on the town. I remember when we went to Ohio, we did we wanted to make Gail happy, so we went to all of the antique stores, and you found a really unique find, which was it described what you wore for the weekend. Do you remember what you bought at that antique store?
How in the world do you remember all of this stuff? I have no idea. Yeah, so we were in an antique store, and I found a chauffeur's badge from Ohio, and I bought that badge and wore it because I was chauffeuring all of you guys around as we were going around to all the different stores. So yeah, I'm assuming that's what you're talking about.
That's exactly what I was talking about. So all of you guys watching out there, if you guys want to go on a trip with Marc, he does have a license. He's a licensed chauffeur, preferably in Ohio, but maybe we can extend it out, and I'm sure he'd love to drive, right, Marc?
I would absolutely love to do that. Now, you actually reminded me of something. The last time I was in this old gold mining ghost town, we found a bottle dump, and somebody was digging literally right next to me, and so I was pulling out cans and a couple of bottles and things, and then, oh my gosh, she pulled out a chauffeur's badge from 1911.
Wow.
And so, and it had the date on it and everything. Well, what I discovered was that was your driver's license. So back then you weren't necessarily a chauffeur. That's what you used to be able to drive your car. So, of course, I was extremely jealous that, somebody sitting right next to me found it, but it was a really cool discovery.
We kind of have the history of that, don't we? You and me, when you're standing next to me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, like diamond ring, Civil War stuff, things like that. Yeah, you tend to find some good stuff standing next to me.
I think you're my good luck charm, Marc.
I hope so.
Maybe I'll give it to you next time.
Yeah, put my name on it.
Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about, we both belong to the CFMDC. You were our second VP for 2 years. I'm now on my third year of president there. And with our club, we implemented some different types of things. And one of the things that my favorite thing that we've changed, that we've made in the last few years, is a partnership that we formed with Esther. You want to talk a little bit about that? Because you're the one who introduced me to Esther and Karen and Marcy.
Well, Carolyn, I think that, as we were thinking about, our club and the things we could do, I really wanted to see if we could expand it beyond just for ourselves. How could we support an organization as a group that we could not only support them financially, but also involve them in the activities of what our club does. So Esther is a single mother's ministry in Central Florida, and they work with mothers who are single for a period of time, and it could be for a myriad of reasons, and they have children. And so what I learned through that is that about 90% of single parent homes are the head of the household is a woman, and a lot of them struggle a lot, you know. So this ministry helps them with food, it helps them with housing, it helps them with education, a lot of different things. And so, you know, we thought, hey, let's see if we can support them. And 2 Christmases ago, it turned out that they really needed some help with both, well, actually for Thanksgiving, where we saw an opportunity to collect some food to give them for Thanksgiving for their food pantry, as well as we wanted to see if the members would be willing to go out and buy a Christmas gift for all of the kids in the ministry. And we were just delighted. I don't know if you remember, but we needed to get 40 people to sign up, and I was hoping to get 20. We got all 40 kids sponsored for that Christmas, and that was fabulous. And so that kind of led us into, as a club, of bringing on Esther as our club sponsored ministry. And we've done a lot of things with them, and I know Kellyco now has stepped up and is working with them, and Mind Lab and others. And so it's really kind of expanded into us reaching out to the community in a big way and making them a sponsored charity. And probably I'm going to just kind of segue into one of the things. So the director, or the assistant director, I should say, of the Esther Ministry really wanted to get into metal detecting. So we got her a metal detector a couple of months ago, and I actually took her out a couple of weeks ago for her first metal detecting adventure, and she found a few things, just had a blast doing it. And so she's all set. And anytime we do an event now where it's open to the kids, we always open it up to the Esther kids, and they all come out and they have a great time. The parents have a great time. So it's a win-win all the way around. We're getting people into metal detecting that we may never have been able to reach out to before.
And see, the thing is here at Kellyco, like I've talked about on the our other coffee talks, is we like to do the thrill, get people thrilled. So we call our team the Thrillers, and that's exactly what you did with Karen. I saw that picture of her digging up that 1965 dime, and you could see the thrill on her face. I mean, she was thrilled, and that's what this hobby is about getting people thrilled. I did see here that we've got Liz is on from Canada. Hi, Liz. And also I wanted to, Emily said that she had a favorite story from Florida. She came down to our hunt last year, her and her family. And I think my memory that jumps out about Emily is when we were doing the seated, the penny hunt, the dreaded penny hunt. Everybody hates that. It's right after lunch, you're tired.
Right.
And I heard her squeal, and I looked over, and she found this big cross. And I said, Emily, that wasn't a seeded find. That's a natural find. And she was so excited about finding that cross. So just so you know, that's my memory of you at the hunt with us, Emily.
Yeah, it was great seeing the whole family with Shannon and Kanisha and little Miss Dirt Digger, Emily. Yeah, it's great seeing the whole family there, and they do that as a family. So it's great whenever they post, because you know they're out together doing that together as a family.
So Marc, we've got a couple more minutes here. I just wanted to ask you, what's your favorite find that you've found metal detecting so far?
Well, I don't know that I have a favorite, and you know, this is going to be cliche, but I'm going to say it anyway. So what I've learned over the last 4 years is my favorite find, quite honestly, Carolyn, are the people that I've met. I've made some amazing people, made some great friendships. And again, like I say, it's cliche, but it really is true. I mean, the people that we have met in this hobby is just amazing, and I cherish every one of those friendships. In terms of things that I found in the ground, that bottle that I showed you is probably one of my favorites, just because of the circumstances around it and the history. A year ago, I went to Virginia. It was my first real Civil War hunt in terms of, looking for stuff for myself. And my very first target was a U.S. Union Civil War belt buckle. And when I found it, I honestly didn't even know what I had. It was encrusted in clay. And, I was probably 50 yards away from the nearest person that I was hunting with. And I called him on the walkie-talkie and I said, "Hey, I think I might have found like maybe a box plate or something. I'm not sure." And he said, "Well, look on the back of it and tell me what you see." And I said, "Well, there's these two little hooks on the back of it." And he came flying across the field. He said, "I got to see this." And he said, "Marc, you didn't find a box plate. You found a U.S. Union belt buckle. This is amazing." And that was my very first target of the entire weekend. So that's probably got to be one of my favorite finds of all time.
I remember when you sent me that picture, and I didn't know what I was looking at first because it was upside down, and I'm trying to look, and then I realized what you found, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I was so happy for you. I wanted to mention that Ron from OKM is here. They're over in Germany, and we were talking earlier about the equipment that OKM provides, the GPR, the Rover C4. So I just wanted to say hi to Ron and also Jerry. Jerry's on now. Hi, Jerry.
Hey, guten Tag, meine friends from Deutschland. Yeah, so that's great that they're looking at us from Germany.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm gonna just piggyback on something you just said about the people being your favorite find. If we're gonna be honest, Marc, I'd have to say Gail's gonna be my favorite find because she makes some incredible jelly, and I think everybody across the country wants some of that jelly that Gail makes.
Well, and we're actually going to be sending some out, and it's funny you say that because as we go to these different places, that we travel to, we take some with us and then we give them strawberry jam or guava jam. And now her strawberry jam is actually becoming, I tell everybody it's world famous now because we leave it and then people use it and then they call us or they message me and say, "Hey, can you send me some more strawberry jam?" So I told Gail if she ever wants to start a business, she can go into making strawberry.
Yes, she can. She's got a huge client base.
Yes, she does.
So, do you got any advice that you could give to any of our listeners, any new beginner detectorists out there as far as metal detecting?
Yeah, well, I don't know, advice is what it's worth, but, I would just encourage people, especially if you're new, is to try to get with other metal detectors who have been around a while. It's amazing what you can learn from other people just by going out with them and just observing, talking to people. That's why I'm really happy that I got in the club because I met so many people that have just, decades of experience and have learned so much that way. I think you learn a lot more by getting out with other people, talking to people, interacting with people, and asking a lot of questions. I think, your scale of understanding how to use metal detectors and how to look at properties, how to get permissions, you can speed that up quite a bit just by being around a lot of other people and spending time with them. That would probably be my best advice. And then find a good metal detecting dealer like Kellyco, somebody that you can call and trust and that that, and I mean that in all sincerity, you have to find somebody that you can work with, for your equipment so that when you need something new or there's a new product coming out that you can call somebody that can give you the right information about, what you're looking at. So yeah, I'm glad we have that relationship.
Yeah, I'm really glad too. And I think one of the things that you just said, joining a club really is a good idea because these people are experienced and they've done it for so long. I mean, look at Ralph. He's Well, he's been 93 for 5 years now, so I don't know how old he really is. But if you sit down and you talk to him and just to hear about the history, he told us how his grandpa used to chase the Indians out of his front yard. Whether he's pulling my leg or not, I mean, I don't know. But those people are just so willing to take you under their wings and teach you so much about the hobby. So club really is great for beginners, I think.
Well, and even if you don't have because I think a lot of people that may be watching may not have a club right by them. You can always join a group on Facebook,
Yes.
and you can interact with people there, just like we're doing now. And
Yep.
you can learn a lot from these groups. So it's another way to do it as well.
Yep. Well, Marc, I know you got to get to work. I got to get to work. It was great chatting with you. And everybody stay tuned. We'll be on tomorrow for Coffee with Kellyco. Thanks again, Marc.
All right.
Cheers.
Thanks, Carolyn. It was a pleasure. Cheers.